right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know where you are at in this wonderful world that we have, but it could be morning, it could be afternoon. And I do not want to take for granted and say, hey, good morning when you say, well, it's not morning for me. So that is not going to happen. What I would love to do is just thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time out of your life, whether it's recorded or live or however you are getting to this recording, that you have actually spent time in your life to listen to us. And so the show is Living Boldly with Purpose. And so as we think about what does that mean in your life? What does that mean in my life? How do we, as human beings, make sure that we are doing what God called us to do? And so, one of the things about Living Boldly with Purpose that I love about the show is we find out what that looks like. We say, hey, I may did this in my life, or I may have done that in my life. And we get to talk about, oh my gosh, I think I'm doing what we are. Today, I get to be with Jay. And so, Jay and I had a conversation last week, and we just found out about some amazing, or I found out about some amazing portions of his life. And here's what I'll tell you: the older that you get, the more you get to define what God has for you. And so, as I talk to Jay and find out about the deep history of his life and how he's been able to serve others. And Jay, this will be a question for after you tell your story, but I want you to be able to think about it as you're doing it. And the question is going to be: is a person capable of living boldly with purpose or living in purpose without serving others? And so, think about that for a minute, because that'll be a question that we'll come back to. I personally don't believe it's possible, but I would love to hear your take on it and what we talk about. But I want to start a show like we always do, and that is telling Jay's story. And like I tell all of our guests that you could take 5 minutes or you could take 30, because we want to hear who you are, how you grew up, how you got to be the man that you are today. Now, I do have to say this all the time: is you can make up your whole story, none of us would ever know about it. Well, your family would, and so if you do, they'll come after you. But most likely, why would you have to? You have such a rich life and all the things, and I can't wait to talk about faith and talk about identity and talk about all those wonderful things that have been part of who you are, and how you cross this world. So Jay, the stage is yours. I appreciate you coming on today, taking your time to spend with us, and go ahead and just kind of start your story wherever you'd like. And I can't wait to hear it.
Hey, Brian, I appreciate it, sir. I I don't really know where to start. I guess when I'm a lot younger, and it's a lot of my history and my story really is living boldly with purpose. It's like
Okay.
I don't know that I realized what my purpose was, and I know your purpose. Even if you know what your purpose is, changes throughout time. It
Mhm.
changes throughout life. It changes through experience. It changes to age. But for all means of purposes, to start over or to start out, I was born and raised on a sizable working farm up in north central Illinois. We had, we did the crops, we did the corn, the soybeans, we did lots of cattle, we had hogs, chickens. I mean, not just a few chickens. We didn't have a lot. We had like 1,000 chickens, but we'd feed out two separate heads of or sets of cattle a year. So anywhere from about 1,000 to 1,200 head of cattle a year. We did a lot of agricultural spraying with airplanes, corn, soybeans, sweet corn, lima beans, sweet peas, stuff for Del Monte under contract. So my whole starting out my life, I had perfect attendance going to Sunday school. I learned what the sense of urgency was. I learned about responsibility because without the urgency in trying to get in with the people, um, to know well, when I was 5 years old, before I was five, I was feeding calves with a bucket with a what they call a nipple pail. It's a nipple bucket, and you mix up the warm milk in it and the powdered milk with warm water, and you drag it through the snow drifts, or you drag in the winter, you drag it through the grass in the summer, and uh, and you feed them. But if you don't do it, they go hungry. They don't gain weight. If you don't attend to your crops, uh, there's just a lot of responsibility that you learn. And I think you become one with nature to a large degree because you can take the dirt and you can grind the dirt, you can smell the dirt. And if it's not good, it's got a sour smell to it, literally. And if it's a good rich dirt, which we have, our dirt in the Midwest is 8, 9 feet deep, and it's got a sweetness to it. So you become. My grandmother was Pennsylvania Dutch, and so I learned words like red sun at night, sailors delight; red sun in the morning, sailors take warning. Well, if you got a red sun in the morning, generally we're going to have a storm that day. But at nighttime, hey, tomorrow's going to be a good day to go. I don't care what the weathermen said; they get paid handsomely to be wrong all the time. So tomorrow it's going to be daylight. That's about the only thing they hit. And but after that, I worked in high school. Our school got out. High school got out at 3:45, and I started working in a small agriculture factory when I was uh, at 4 o'clock, and I worked till 12:30 at night, and I got home about 1 o'clock in the morning. Got back up at 5:30 and helped my dad do his chores and did my chores. Because if I didn't help him do his chores in the morning with feeding the cattle and climbing the silos and taking care of business, he would charge me to do my chores at nighttime because he said nothing's for free.
Wow.
And so whenever I use the tractors or the combines or the disc or the plow to to prep my land or use a rotary hoe or the cultivator or combine, he would charge me by the hour or by the acre because that's a cost. May as well learn it when you're young because that's when you should do that. So but I got out of that.
Let me
What?
just ask a quick question
Yes,
because
sir.
just based on what you said here, and my grandpa had a dairy. It was in Central California, so we didn't have to worry about snow and that kind of stuff. And I would, but
Right,
he only had about 400, cows that we had to milk every day, twice a day, on time, that kind of stuff. And
right.
that was a lot of work. You're talking about 1,000. But one of the things that you just said was he charged you to work. So now, did you get the profit from the land when you sold the crops, or did he keep
Oh,
that?
sure, sure,
Okay, I
sure,
was going to say,
sure.
it's a win-win situation there. I'll charge him, and then I'll,
Well,
yeah.
exactly. Well, I mean, I had to buy my own grain, or
Okay.
plant seed. I had to, I had my own fuel tanks. Uh, and you get your fuel delivered on the farm in bulk,
Yep.
but it's a part of the cost. It's no different than buying the calf. Uh, and you said you milk cattle. Well, I had a cousin Warren. I got quite a few calves from because he milked cattle, but he didn't feed out beef cattle like we did.
Okay. So
So so when a bull was born, he couldn't milk it, so I would buy it, and I used to buy them for $2. That was what it cost me. And then when I was 1955, uh, well, they were $2 in, and when I was in 1958, they went to $5 a head. And I said, "Gee, cousin Warren, they like over doubled. It's like he says, well, that's take it or leave it. And
wow.
so okay, I took it. And it's okay. It's all okay. You live and you learn. But like I say, it's a responsibility issue. It's like the people today, they think, oh, I can just go out and get this for free. And it just doesn't work. And things take time. And that's something I learned a lot of was the value of time and life as a young person because in the spring, it's like the year may seem like it takes forever, but you no sooner plant the corn, and it's a little seed. It's just a little single seed of corn, but that one seed of corn grows into a stalk that's 12, 13, 14 feet tall, and it's got 3 ears of corn on it, and each ear of corn's got maybe 250, 300 kernels of corn. So you get 900 to 1,000 kernels out of one kernel. So and before you know it, you're either putting it up, you're chopping it and making silage out of it, putting a silo and feeding it to cattle to get the cattle to grow, or you're putting it in the grain bins, or you're putting it in the corn crib, or whatever. So that cycle of life is over. And it's time to prepare for the winter. And during the winter, we had other businesses we ran, and you got equipment to take care of, maintain for springtime. So everything was always something moving in process. And if or you're pulling weeds, or you're painting buildings, or you're doing something. But out of that, I went into the Marine Corps. My time in the Marine Corps wasn't real long. I went in for 3 years. I lasted 17 months, 12 days, and about 20 hours, and I died trying to take another Marine back to the Naval Hospital who had been. I was part of a. I was a sergeant with a criminal intelligence team undercover, covert ops, and he was a corporal. Worked for me, and his long story, but some people found out where he lived in non-commissioned officer housing in Oceanside, California, and he was investigating them. They beat him pretty badly. They sliced his head open. His ear was hanging off, down into the throat. I just happened to show up, and it's a long story. Like I say, I don't want to get into it too much. And but on the way back to base, there was a semi pulled out of an orange packing plant. It was across the road. Um, no side lights, no markers, no reflectors, no any. It was like driving into the dark. And we hit the semi and the drivers, and the car crunched from 17 feet 4 inches to under 10 feet, blew up and burned. And um, anyhow, they pulled me out dead. Eventually, like I said, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on it, but they pulled me out. I watched myself be dead when the doctors were walking away. Another doctor came in and how they got me back, and then I was in a coma. I spent a year in the Naval Hospital. The lady, Roy Stitz's wife, she was in the middle holding a compress on the side of his head with her arm around his neck, and she was in a coma for 18 months and died. And Stitz got burned worse than I did, but he didn't get busted up as bad as I did. And he passed away from a heart attack a year ago this month. So that it's a tough story. It's a tough story, but got out of that. I rehabbed for a little bit at home. I was able to get plenty of jobs. I went up to live with an aunt outside the city of Chicago. I lived out in the suburbs, and I could get a lot of jobs, but I couldn't find one that would let me stand or let me sit. And because my back was so bad, because I was in traction for 8.5 months, so my back was already bad from the accident, they couldn't do anything with it. Um, but I couldn't stand a lot because I had leg braces all the way up to the crack of my butt that I set on my pelvis. And so I left that and I went home and I started a small business, a little detail business
Okay.
on vehicles, and that grew, and I started flipping cars. I started out. I had a company called Corvette Enterprises, and I would buy and sell cars and clean them up or do something with them and whatever they needed and flip it. And sometimes people would say have a Chevelle and they wanted a Super Sport. They wanted a Corvette, and then somebody else wanted that Chevelle, and they trade in a Monte Carlo, or the Monte Carlo get traded for a Grand Prix, traded for it was or a pickup truck. It was crazy, but I flipped about 550 cars in about 6 years. Yeah, five and a half, 6 years. I also started a trucking company, so we ran all over the U.S., up into Canada, Alaska. We used to haul the valve assemblies out of a company called Blau and Knox. It was a foundry out of Gary, Indiana. We hauled them up to Yellowknife and on up into Alaska for the pipeline back in the early '70s. But so it was just a varying thing. But then I got all that going, and then to September 3rd, 1973, I had a drunk hit me almost head on, and he got thrown out of his truck, no seatbelt, run over by his truck and killed. And I went off to their side, ripped the motor out, ripped the side off the car, rolled several times down in a deep ditch, and I just remember the noise and the flipping. But I had my seatbelt on, so I was good to go at least with that. I'd probably been better if they had airbags like today, but we didn't.
Hmm.
But I had a bad out of body experience. I remember the glass in my mouth and all of that, and the grittiness of it. But the post that held the pillar up on the windshield pillar had taken my shoulder pretty well out, ripped the bone out the back of my arm, severed the deltoid muscle. I had cracked ribs again, punctured lungs again, from just like I did in the Marine Corps. You know, cut up real bad, but I was bleeding out. But I was going into the sky. I was ascending. I mean, I just like out of body, and and I got far enough up. It seemed, well, the thing is, this happened out in the middle of the cornfields. This happened out in the middle of the nowhere. I mean, it's between towns, and there was a car behind us that they got there and they saw the guy's body in the road. They looked down and saw me. As this is what they told the state trooper later on, and but they went to the next town to find some help. Well, the next town is only about 900 people, 850, 900 people. It's not, there's nothing there. And so by the time they found somebody, got
Yeah.
somebody, they got together, they come back and try getting me out of it. But this again turns into a long story. um, but I was ascending into heaven. I could hear voices. Um, I would like to say they were angels. I don't know. Um, but it was
Hmm.
peaceful. And in neither the Marine Corps accident, Brian, or the accident here, do I remember any pain. I don't remember any pain. After I came around and they got me back, but I looked down and they had two
You
people up
feel,
on
yeah.
the roadside, and they did direct transfusions into me just to get blood into me because I bled out. I was gone. So that was the second time I died,
Yeah.
and they got me back. Um, and then I went back and started doing just uh, went back to the businesses that I was running as time permitted. And I worked. I got a corporate job because the businesses were taking care of themselves. I had good people in place. I didn't want to micromanage, and uh, the company basically wasn't paying me. So it's a long story, but
Oh no.
I, I well, they sent me a check for $8,000, and that didn't cover a month's worth of what I was doing years and years ago. I had several states that I was in charge of, and I'd straightened out their problems, but they just enough of that. So I ended up getting a job with GTE, which used to be General Telephone Electronics, and they used to be GTE Sylvania, GTE Magnavox,
Hmm.
and so on. And we were the largest independent phone company in America, and we're the largest Yellow Page publisher in the world. And you remember Yellow Pages, but some of these people out here listening don't.
Yeah.
They don't know. It's
Internet
kind
in
of
a
like
book.
today. It's like yeah, it's like today's computer, the URL. You like
Mhm.
type in
Yeah.
plumbers, except there you opened the book up and found the plumbers. But that started. I started that February 1st, 1981, and until that point, I would say what got me through a lot of my life was just being hard headed, understanding the sense of responsibility, understanding sense of urgency, understanding that it takes a lot of grit to keep going through. I mean, I'd stepped on nails. I'd had nails up through my feet, all the way through my feet, when I was 7.5 years old. Um, I should have been ground up in a feeding auger accident on the farm when I just the week after I turned 17. And all it did was break my right ankle and cut my leg open and slice my boot open. But I was grateful that I was able to launch off the auger into a snowdrift. And I'm kind of backing up here a little bit, but I was grateful that I didn't go through the auger. And my
Mhm.
grandfather turned it off because in 4 or 5 seconds I'd have been completely turned into hamburger.
Oh
They
gosh.
would have wondered what happened to you. Where did you go? You
Hmm.
just disappeared. So, but anyhow, I think a lot of that, I was grateful. I know that I would say a prayer, and this kind of takes me to my faith journey. And a lot of that I just pushed through. I shoved through. I was stubborn. I was like, don't tell me I can't do it. I can do it. I'm going to do it. And I did it. And no matter what, it didn't matter what, and my perseverance factor or determination factor or the courage to go ahead and try something knows no limits. It never has. And I don't know where that came from. My DNA, my faith, going to Sunday school, learning things. I don't know. But it was a pretty strong thing. Now, what happened next is when I went to I started out with GTE, and I went right to the top. I mean, I just uh, selling yellow pages and working with people to me was natural, because if you do the best for the client, everything else just comes along. I don't care about awards. I don't care about all the stuff that I got. I care about the client. Are we serving the client best? And that gets back to being an entrepreneur. Because if you choose a product or you choose a service to provide, or a combination, do
Hmm.
your best and do it for that person, because that's the target. That's who you it's not about the product. It's about their satisfaction and
Hmm.
how you work it. So, you know, you can't. Well, anyhow, I started with GT. I was with GTE, and on the 4th of July, 1981, went to a 4th of July parade. We played volleyball for a while. Later on that late afternoon, went down the hill, and the guy had just put an in-ground pool in. I jumped in the pool, landed on my feet, broke my neck in 4 places, and drowned, and was paralyzed from the shoulders down.
No.
And they pulled me out after about 8 minutes. And a few days later, I can't tell you how many days later, 3, 4, 5, the doctor was there, and I had Gardner Wells tongs bolted in my skull. I was in a circle bed,
Hmm.
and he was telling me that I was in a lot of pain. Oh my
Oh
God,
gosh, I can
the pain, the
imagine.
pain was it was some of the, well, at that time it was the worst I'd ever experienced, and I think, and but anyhow, my wife, I was married 3 weeks a day that I broke my neck my second time, and but my wife was down in front of me. I was in the circle bed, and she said, "Jay, there's a man here named Tom Cooper, and Tom's son was in a car accident, and he's not real bad, but he's in a coma. But they don't expect him to stay in it. But he's got no other injuries, and but he would like to offer a prayer for you. Would you accept that? And if so, just blink your eyes." Well, I may be not real bright, but I'm not stupid either. So I blinked my eyes, and he offered a
Hmm.
prayer for and I can't tell you what he said, because it's been 45 years and I don't remember. And but Tom went to a church in the greater Minneapolis area that had 5,000 congregants, and he went to church all three services every Sunday for the entire many months that I was in rehab and in the hospital, and asked everybody to offer prayer
Hmm.
for me, as my mother did in her church. And that's where my whole life of understanding that I'm really truly here by the grace of God, and that's the only reason I'm here. Um, because I've
Yeah.
done the best to kill myself as possible, and it just doesn't work. So He must have me here for
It
a
doesn't
reason.
work. You are like
It,
invincible
it's
here. This is crazy.
well, I've had four
Yes.
other times I should have been dead. So, and twice in the last 5 years. So it's
Wow.
not been good. And but but I'm an overachiever. I'm an overworker. I want to do more all the time. And no matter what I did, as time went on, uh, let's say 4 months after the date of the accident on July 4th, and my mom was up. Mom and dad came and visited, and my mom said, "You doing okay?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing pretty good." I said, "But I don't understand, why me?
Hmm.
Why me?" And I don't mean why me for this accident, but why me? Mom, I should have died in the feeding auger. I died in the Marine Corps. I died from the car accident. I've been dead again. You
It's
know,
cool. And yeah, oh my gosh.
it gets old. It gets old. And she said, "Well, I want you to know one thing up front, is that when you jumped in the pool, that was your decision to jump in the pool. God helped save you, because He encouraged that young lady, the first woman to jump in to try getting to you,
Hmm.
and then helped that young man understand that the woman couldn't do it herself. So he got in, and together they got you to the surface, got you to the edge of the pool, and
Hmm.
other people tried, starting CPR, didn't realize you had a broken neck. The EMS, EMT people were about three, well, they were there within 5 minutes of the phone call.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
yeah, very, very, they were like a mile away. And so I, I just, that's where I really began that trip of knowing that I could incrementally see improvement over a week of working out, going through physical therapy and occupational therapy.
Mhm.
But it seemed like on Sundays, I got more movement back than any other day of the week. And Sundays, I didn't do much. I didn't have therapy, but it's like the power of prayer lifted me
Mm,
to, to get the benefit of what I've been working for all week.
that is so cool.
So I, I, I've been very fortunate, and I never, I don't ever go to bed without thanking God for the day, uh, thanking Him, whether it's been something good or something bad. It doesn't matter, because if it's something bad that I've gotten through, and I'm going to get through it, I
Hmm.
100%, I'm going to get through it. But when I get through it, number one, I owe Him thank you, but it also makes me a stronger person. It makes me more resilient. It gives me more. It just backs up that belief that I have that I can overcome and do what I want to do, or I'm able to do what He wants me to do His will.
Hmm.
And so I I, uh, I got out of I eventually got out of there, and until that point, um, that next year they had me back in March, um, to this institute for rehabilitation, and they had never had a patient of the year, and they were there, I think, 64 or 65 years, and it's been 45 years since I broke my neck, and they've never had another one since. But I was the only single patient of the year they've ever had. I was never supposed to move from the shoulders down. They didn't expect me to, and I just never quit. I didn't quit until I walked out, and I walked out, and I had the halo cast bolted. You can maybe see some of the scars I still got from that, and they're back here too. Leg braces, crutches. The blood was running down my forehead, but I got a weekend pass to go home after many, many months, and I did it. And I was crying my heart out going out the door. The passion that it takes to persevere is indescribable. And you mentioned before about the older you get, and I'll be 77 coming up, and I still think I'm stuck between the age of about 22 and 28 mentally, um, joke wise and getting in trouble wise. I'm stuck at about 12 years of age, but uh, medically, I know that I definitely fought in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the Spanish American War, World War One. I know I do. I've been through hell and back. 73 surgeries. I had my 73rd
You've
surgery a
had
year ago.
73 surgeries.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Holy moly.
I've had 15 back surgeries. My left knee, 16 surgeries. It's been replaced 3 times, and on top of everything else, and third-degree burns, busted ribs, punctured lungs, tracheotomy, 32 facial fractures. My left jaw was hanging down here. My left leg was crushed so bad at the bottom that my foot was turned backwards. My foot was going the opposite way it was supposed to. So I've really been, you know, I've been through a lot. Been
Man.
through a lot.
Oh my God.
And I know God's got better days for me.
Yeah.
I know I got better days to go, and I feel like I've got this one thing that this being on a podcast has allowed me to do is be asked questions that really let me dig into myself.
Hmm.
And I'm getting requests to speak. I'm getting more requests for virtual speaking. It's hard for me to travel. I can travel. I can get my wheelchair in a van, and I can transfer to my other seat, and I use hand controls. This hand doesn't work at all. This arm is almost gone. I may got a little bicep, but this arm is pretty good. But my wrist is fused with bone from my right pelvis. All my fingers have been broken. All my knuckles have been broken. My right wrist and my left elbow are the only two body parts I have that have not been broken, rotted, pinned, replaced, or something.
Wow.
That's the only thing I've got. So I kind of hope they don't need it either. So, you know,
Yeah, no, yeah, oh
but
my gosh. Yeah, when I hear your story and you go, wow, this is a walking miracle. And God has used you or is getting ready to use you or is using you for a tremendous purpose. But I would love to kind of hear from you when I think about identity, and who we are through all this process and who He would love us for us to be. I would love maybe you just kind of share through some of those processes because as I think about it from my perspective, I don't know if going through those things, if I could be as happy as a man that you are today and excited about life and better days that are coming. And so, has it always been that way? I mean, every time you had one of these, did you ever get mad and say, God, what the heck are you doing? I don't want to do this again. I don't want to die again. What's going on? So, maybe
No,
kind of
sir.
talk about some of your identity that you've
No,
had through
sir.
this.
No, sir. I've never held it against God. I mean, I've never even thought about that. I'm just glad I want to get out and go. I want to
Hmm.
get okay. Something that people got to realize. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, I've spent almost 4 years of my life in hospitals. That's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you work in a hospital, you got weekends off, you got vacation, you got holidays, no matter what. Okay, you got time off. So I've spent the equivalent of about 15 to 15 and a half, 16 years of my life. If I worked at a hospital, that's how long it would take me to make up the time I spent in the hospital. If you take days off, weekends off, your 8 hours a day shift, whatever, 9 hours maybe. So I owe myself 15 years of life. And I'm just grateful. I mean, when I was 41, GTE uh, put me out to pasture. They put me on long-term disability. I started collecting Social Security. I was on a long-term disability benefit. I could have quit. I could have quit. I was financially okay. I'd been investing. I've been an entrepreneur. But I couldn't do that. I just can't do that. I mean, I'm no, I got things to do. So I started another company that we took. It took me about 2.5 years, and I was into seven figures already, and we moved it on up. I had it about 15 years, and we were shipping products and trade show displays and graphics and digital imaging to Jakarta, Indonesia, the Russian oil fields back when we got along with Russia. Uh, all around the world, plus locally. I mean, wherever it was north of Houston, about 25, 30 miles is where I was located at the time. But, I thought, you know what, I'm going to sell that, get out of it. I can see that everything has a time.
Hmm.
When you were a teenager, your teen years only last from 13 to 19, and you
Hmm.
get a different, you move on in life. And, uh, but I moved over to what they call the Hill Country. It's about 200 miles west of where I was at, north of Houston, and we were here about 4 or 5 months. And I started another company. We started building homes. We
Hmm.
started building. I mean, the first we built a home just to do it, just for the heck of it,
Wow.
and we sold it. We had four full price offers. Well, then that same year we built four more. Then we built 12. Then we built 16 each consecutive year, and we did we did pretty good. And I quit doing that 2.5 years ago and invested. And I'm a part owner in a company now that is battlefield immersion. And also we take it into fire department, law enforcement, SWAT teams. We're in all across the nation now. In in the last 3.5 years total that they were there a year before I got involved, and now we're international. We just signed a contract with Saab out of Sweden, so we picked up 48 other countries. We already had our first sale and demo in the UK to the British Special Forces. So it takes me a different path, but I've also, I enjoy this. I enjoy talking with people. I enjoy encouraging because I, I I truly believe, I believe this my whole life. I was taught this, and the more people you help, the better person you become.
Yeah. So true. I'm hearing your story, and and you correct me if I'm wrong. But my understanding is based on your story. You were born in 1950, so that would make you
1949.
1949, so that makes you 76 years old
Yes,
today,
sir.
right?
Yes,
So
sir.
then you said 2 years ago you were building houses. So I
Yeah,
just
two and a
I
half years.
want to,
I
so
could still
you're at
be.
73, yeah, but you're 73 years old and you're still going. So talk about that a little bit because there's so many people that have gone through nothing like you've gone through and are doing nothing at this age in life where you were not only 2 years ago building houses, but now 2 years later, you have an international business and you're
It's,
working and you're excited about the rest of your life. So,
oh
kind of talk
yeah.
about that a little bit. Like, what keeps you going where other folks are going, I'm done, and you're going, no, I'm just getting started?
Um, it's a good question. I think the easiest word is stubbornness. I,
Mm,
I think just stubbornness. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to. I got a hat sitting right over there. I found it on the internet. Right now, it's got a sergeant's stripes on one side of it and a Marine Corps emblem on the other that I stuck on it. But it says, "Still not dead, hard to kill," and then on the side it says, "No quit." And I thought that's me
yeah.
because I'm not going to quit. Why should I quit? Give me a reason. Give me three good reasons why I should quit. Give me one good reason. Why should I quit? I'm helping other people. I just had a call. I had a call right before we started this. A lady, she's got a friend whose dog almost died, and it's her emotional support dog. I don't know. I've never needed one, but maybe I should have had one. I don't know, but I've not needed one. But it was really sick, and she's incurred these medical expenses. Okay, well, she's just asking for $5 or $10 to help towards some of this and get a lot of people. Well, I'll send a couple $100. Okay, I don't. It is what it is. Easy come, easy go, because, and I don't mean that. Excuse me. I don't mean that frivolously. It's you bust your butt to get it, but if you lose it,
Hmm.
you're still God's. And I can't take it with me. Um, I've got some very, very expensive high end cars that I kept that are in museums. I can't take them with me either. Somebody asked me which one day, here a couple of years ago, they said, when you die, what are you going to do with your cars? I go, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to die till I decide which one I want to be buried in. You know, it's like, you know, and
I
I
love,
thought, I don't know if I want to be buried in my Shelby or my this or that or
oh my
whatever.
gosh.
So, but you got to look at life with humor too, Brian. You got to look at, anybody that has an issue. I don't care what what disability or differently abled. I don't think I'm disabled. I think I'm differently abled. I can't do certain things you can do, but I bet I can remember more because I've had to train my mind because I can't write very fast, I can't write very good, and I can't read what I write. So I've had to train my write. It's kind of like somebody that's blind. Their hearing gets better, their sense of smell gets better because over time, God works with you in a miraculous ways and helps you learn things that other can't accept. They don't understand it because they're not following in my footprints. But I don't I don't know what drives me other than the fact that gosh, I got to get out and feed the cattle. I got to get out and get the crops in. I've
Yeah.
got to get out and I've got to do this, And the one thing that a lot of people lack today, and I think this will make sense to you a lot because where you kind of told me you came from, is I think there's a lack of sense of community
Mm,
because people don't know people. They don't you don't know your neighbors. You don't know the people across the street or above you, beside you,
yeah.
wherever. Or do you care about them? Or will you go help them unasked? Where we had people that if we heard that, because I was raised with a party line phone, and even without the party line phone, you heard if Mrs. Smith was not doing well and her husband had to go to work, you made sure they got a big pot of stew or chicken noodle soup and a peach cobbler or something for supper, that would last a couple of meals or two or three meals for the family. And I just learned that. I picked that up. That was what we did. And, in the town I lived outside of it was about 4,200 people when I was a senior in high school,
Mhm.
but we called them the city kids. That wasn't a city. That's not even hardly a town. But all the little towns around us were only 400 people, 250 people, 700 people, and there were a lot of them. So but you helped, you reached out. And my mom was a teacher. She also taught piano, and everybody knew my mother, everybody. And my dad was always on the school board,
Mhm.
or always president of the school board. And he was a high school graduate. That's it. My mom eventually had a doctorate, but she didn't care about it. She said, anybody ever calls me a doctor, I'm going to slap them, because I'm not a doctor. You know, I'm,
Medical doctor. Yeah,
it's a title. It's a title.
it's
That's it.
a title. Yeah.
So I was raised, I've never been impressed with titles. I can be a CEO, I can be the president, I can be whatever, but the best title is probably chief cook and bottle washer.
There we
It's like, that one works, because I still today, when I was at the office the other day, I was trying to clean the toilet, and I was in my wheelchair trying to clean the toilet, and because Jason was busy doing a bid for $500,000 for teaks up at Texas A&M, and I thought, well, hell, I'm in here. Why not try? It doesn't matter what difference does it make. And I don't think
go.
God is going to judge me badly if I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, if you're
You
trying.
know,
One of the things I love to, kind of, I don't know if it's a pivot because I think we're on this conversation, is when I think about mindset and success leaves clues. And when I think about a millionaire mindset, and I think of you, and if you were, we could probably transport you into any place in the world, and you would figure out how to be successful. You
yes, sir. I
gifted
believe that.
with this acumen. But when I think of the things you're saying, like you're saying stubbornness, you're saying tenacity, you're saying integrity, you're saying these words, and many people go, well, I don't know. I want to be a millionaire someday. I want to make a lot of money someday, but they don't have some of the character and the traits that allow them to be successful. What are a few of those that you could say have served you? Because you've gone through a tremendous amount of things, and yet you're still successful. God has allowed you to be successful in
Yes,
all
sir.
areas because of, I would say more because of your character than because of the actual, because it doesn't matter what the trinket is. It could be a car, it could be a trucking, it could be, gadgets for war. I mean, what is it that you could maybe tell us about mindset or how you show up every day when you wake up, I guess?
Um, I'm going to go back to high school. Something that was
Okay.
very important lesson to me in high school, and I didn't realize what an important lesson it was then
Hmm.
until later. But I got it. I understood what he was saying, uh, but I took, I had practical math when I was a freshman. Then I thought, okay, I got to take algebra. Well, I don't have to, because algebra was still it was an elective back when I was in school, and it may be required now. I don't know, but at any rate, and I've never used it. Okay, but when I took algebra my freshman, the first semester, I didn't do well. I think I got a C minus or a D, and I'm thinking, oh my God, second semester is just it's going to be a killer. So I knew I was going to bomb it. I knew I was going to fail it. I knew it. And that's a mindset. I knew I was going to fail it. If you're right, or if you think you're right, or you think you're wrong, you're right. And
Right. Yeah.
but I just anyhow, I finished the test that day, and the teacher's name was Ron Malcolm, Mr. Malcolm, and real nice guy, younger teacher. And I was one of the last kids leaving the class. And he says, "Jay, come here a minute." So yes, sir. And so I go over, and I'm standing there, and he said, "Listen, this is Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I'm going to be in there grading papers, filling out report cards. You guys are coming back Thursday, last day of the year, sophomore year, right?" And uh, uh, but I'm going to offer you. I want you to come back, or I'm off giving you an offer to come back and try taking the test one more time. Take the final one more time. Try it. And he said, and I'll be here all day. So that next afternoon, I went in. I took the test again. He gave me like an extra 10 or 15 minutes, And I knew I was failing it. I knew from question number two I was failing it. And but I worked at it. I tried. I mean, I tried, but I just didn't get. It didn't click. For
Hmm.
whatever reason, it just didn't click. And um, I took up. I gave him my paperwork, and I laid it down, and he took it over, and he looked through it, and he turned it over, and he said, "I'd show you what your grade is, but I can tell you you failed." But what I want to tell you is, most importantly, I know some of your history. I know a little bit about you. I talked to the other teachers. I talked to some of the kids.
Yeah.
You know how many kids are working nights, 8 hours a night at 4 o'clock till 12:30, getting home at 1, getting up at 5:30, and going and doing all blah blah blah. None of them.
None of them. None of them.
None of them. And he said I invited 7 students total to come back and try taking the test one more time. Do you know how many showed up?
You.
One.
Yes.
You.
Yes.
You're the only one that showed up. That shows me that you're going to be a trier all your life. And straight A's never made anybody rich, but trying does.
Let's make everybody right.
Never quit trying. And you don't. You just try, try, try. And I know I need to let you go because you got to go to work. Because by then it was about 3:30, quarter to
Yeah.
4. And I was finished with the test, and I did. I had to be at work at 4 o'clock to work till 12:30 that night. So my point is that Mr. Malcolm probably gave me the biggest lesson I had in all of high school.
Keep
And he
trying.
said, never quit trying, because
Never
straight A's don't make people rich, but trying does. Never
straight.
quit trying. So I think if I can share anything with anybody, it's never quit trying. But you got to have a vision. You got to have a dream. You have to have a goal. And when you do, even if it's nothing, you can always pivot a little bit, to use the
Mhm.
word you used before. You can change directions a little bit, but you don't have to change much. Sometimes, if I'm aiming like this right now and I just go like this, it's not much. But if I was on a 5,000 mile course, I just missed the Hawaiian Islands by 1,000 miles.
Yeah. Or
Okay,
if you're putting a
in the length.
door frame up and you're building a house and you miss it by an inch,
Oh,
that's all the
yeah.
market.
If you miss this corner by an inch and it's 600 inches long and 12 feet, you're off. Well, it's a 50-foot long and you're off. Yeah, your house is so far out of square you can't frame it.
Yeah.
But but
Or
it's a matter of it, it, you can do all this mental math, to use a word. I hate to use math, but all these mental gymnastics. But start out small. Start out small. The first house we built was 907 square feet with a oversized 1 car garage. We didn't start out big, but it had great trim. It had great this. Everything was so. When you if you take small steps, you can correct yourself. If you slip a little bit, you can correct it right then, or correct it without a lot of problem. But if you try to take a big step, so that's an old saying that I was raised with: inch by inch, it's a cinch; yard by yard, it's very hard. It's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant? You know that one.
one
One
bite at
bite
a
at
time.
a time. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think but dream big, but ask people, talk to people. And something I did many, many years ago is I had this little product servicing I wanted to do, and I was thinking about it, and yeah, I don't know. So I called the guy who lived about 250 miles away, and I told him, hey, here's what I'm interested in doing. I know you're doing it. I've looked it out. I had the yellow pages, and I was able to get the yellow pages for that area. And I said, I'd like to come talk to you. And I know you're not going to come do business in my area. I'm not going to come do business in your area. Would you give me a half a day or a couple hours of your time? I'll pay you for it. I don't know. I'd like to see what you do, get your mind thought, because you've got a successful business going, and everything. That's what I did. So that doesn't mean you can't do that with somebody else. Or, yeah, wow, and you got podcasts out there you can listen to. You got books you can read. And I just had somebody, I read an article the other day, and it said, if you don't have time to open a book and read a book, you do not have time to start a business. And isn't that the truth?
I love that.
That's a
Oh my
fact.
gosh. Yeah. You don't have time to do the work. Yes. Because you, oh my
So
God, that is so cool.
and I've got books over here from all sorts of stuff. Now, I buy some books on ways to do business, ways to be motivated, ways to be inspired, ways to do this, ways to that. But I get through them. Some of this, I think, oh my God, I was doing this 40 years ago. So I just set the book
I
aside.
love it. Yeah,
Well,
you.
I mean, I'm serious. I
I
hate
know
to
you
say
are.
that,
I know you are.
and I'm not being. I think it's great for some people, but
Yeah.
for me, it's just like, and I got one that's called. Oh my, hold on just a second. It's called. I think it's called Winners and Losers,
Okay.
and I can't read the name of it. It's a pretty thin book, but the point is, I read that book and I thought, oh my God, this is me, 100%. Except I would do this different, and I would do this different, and I wouldn't have lost here, and I know I would have won here, but it was a good book, and you got to accept that fact, and it's like, but when I read that if you don't have time to open a book and read a book,
I love that saying. You don't have time
you
to have.
don't have time to start a business.
You don't have time to start a business.
And hold on one second. I got a book right here that here's another book. I'm going to read it. I'm going to start it this evening and I'll finish it in 3, 4 days. But it's called Experiencing God.
I know that
And,
book. I've taught
and
from the book. I have
pardon?
literally taught that book to a group of people.
Well, I had a gentleman that I visited with about a month ago that I went to boot camp and ITR with, and he was in Vietnam 5 days and lost both his legs, and he's been a missionary for the last 45 years.
Yeah.
And he gave it to me when I was there because I was helping him with some stuff, and he sends me his weekly little
Hmm.
Bible stuff that he does. And but we've been good friends. I mean, he reached out and found me about 10, 12 years ago, and we've been in touch. And I spent a couple. My son is also a Marine, and he helped take me on this trip, and we stopped and visited with the last living Marine that helped save my life
Hmm.
while we were there. He's in a veterans home now, and I had a lot of tears as I introduced him to my son because if he hadn't pulled me out even dead, which I was when he pulled me out, they wouldn't have got me back. And if I hadn't have gotten back, my son wouldn't be alive, and his daughters wouldn't be alive. So it's a repeating thing. And if you look at it like that, Brian, that's just where God takes you. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
don't give up. You just keep trying. And but if somebody doesn't have, getting back to your question real quick, uh, some people just don't seem to have it to do it on their own. They need to be mentored. They need to be coached. They need to be helped. They need to be given instructions. They need to be. It's like I've for 2 years I've been telling the people at OpCon, which I got a OpCon fire training shirt on by chance, but I I uh, I said we need to get more testimonials
Hmm.
because testimonials are excellent, and they've been dogging it and dogging it. So the other day we had a board meeting. I said I'm not coming to the next board meeting until you get testimonials. Done.
Nice.
And I'm a 20% owner of the company, and I've invested more than anybody by far. I mean,
Yeah.
more than you want to know, more than I'm willing to say, uh, into this company to take it where it is.
Wow.
But the fact is, testimonials. Get it, and it doesn't hurt. And listen, anybody that's out there that's listening to this, if you have a little business, if you've got a business, and this maybe people may a lot of people really butt heads back against this, but ask, have a round table. Number one, if you make a sale, when you're done with your sale, whatever that sale is, it's a product, it's a service, it's maybe you power wash somebody's driveway. That's all you did. That's all you did. Ask them why they chose you and what they were happy about that you did. Maybe what you didn't do. What do you notice anything I didn't do that I could have done or I should have done? Ask the client because the client is your paycheck. The client is who's bringing you the money.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask clients. What do you even get a group or call stop once in a while. If I did I put up the background for you and I stop back and I say, Brian, are you happy with it? And if you're not, tell me what I could have done different. What would you have done different? Can you tell me something? If you were running it, what would you have done? ask, because it's the answers that give you the solution to your problem.
Wow. Jay, as we're running down, we got to do this again. I can't wait to spend more time with you and just, like the it feels like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I'm feeling like I'm in this world of just, oh my gosh, this is so incredible to be able to talk to you. Is there something that you wanted to make sure that you shared with this audience today that you didn't get a chance to talk to at this point? You're coming back, so we're gonna do some more stuff. But I'm just telling you that now. I'm not giving you a choice. But we're gonna, I can't wait. But I want to know today: is there something that we could that you wanted to share? Because this is so good.
Um, I would say reaching back to the people that we were just talking to and about and
Hmm.
directing to, I think one thing that they need to realize too is that even if they're knowledgeable, even if they're really um, knowledgeable about their product or service,
Hmm.
whatever they're doing in life,
Yeah.
and you're talking to somebody else, find out about that person. Find your common ground. Find what you have that is I want to use the word common again, but it's that you understand your the way you're coming across, because before you present your product, you have to know that. You've got to know that. That's a
Yeah.
And here's the reason why is because people don't care how much you know
You know how much you
till
can.
they know how much you care.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Relationships
that's
are everything. 100% everything in relationships. I can't wait.
and
We're gonna do a whole show just on relationships. I think just because
well
how
I
important they are.
it's amazing. Relationships are that's all encompassing. But I don't. I mean, I've got the book that I wrote that's out. It's been doing very well on Amazon. It's number one in two classifications, it's number one in inspirational people or inspirational. Uh, People with disabilities that want inspiration or something. I don't remember the name of it, the title they came up with. And then late teens to mid 30s is another one. It's number one for motivation and inspiration, which surprises me because it's not big words. It's just little words. It's just to the point. And uh, what it does is, Brian, it talks about some of my medical issues, but it's more what did it take to get through that? What
Mm.
is it? How do you get over those humps? How do you get through it and understand that you've been dead? You got a year of healing, and then you got more healing after that. And when I wrote the book, I cried. I cried because I had to remember some of the things that I've been working to forget for 55
Of
years.
course.
And
Yeah.
it was terrible. I cried on a show the other day.
Uh,
It was not good. And then that person cried. So it's like they had tears running,
it's part of our lives, right? I mean, oh my.
Well, and it is. It's true. It's about life, and
Hmm.
that's the thing that we've got to see. But I think that. Um, but anyhow, so it really talks about how to be inspired, where to find that strength within you. The name of the book is The Strength Within You. It's always too soon to quit. The strength within you. It's always too soon to quit. And it's really, like I say, it's about the medical stuff, but it's about finding that strength within you. Does Brian get something that moves him ahead from going to church when he was younger?
Hmm.
Something from his parents, his grandparents, something that he can something that irritates him, frustrates him, aggravates him. Pain can be a motivator. Okay, does it is it from stubbornness? Is it from something that some kid did to you years ago? I had a gentleman that when we wrapped up, uh, he said, I read your book. And the gentleman's out of the New York State, not New York City, but New York State. And he said, you're the only person I've ever read a book that in the acknowledgments, you acknowledge and thank the people that stood in your way, that caused you problems, that said no, that stopped you because it put a stronger fire in you to say, hey, bull crap, I'm going to do it. And that's what gets you over and makes you more resilient.
Yeah.
if people could understand that every little bump in the road that you go over, and it's not, it's about the, all these awards and trophies and all this stuff. It's not about winning that. It's what did you do to get it? What problems did you solve? What did you, and it's when I picked up my last distinguished management award, Rocky Johnson was president of all of GTE, fifth largest corporation in America at the time. And when he was going to present it to me in front of like 500 people, all college graduates, I'm the only one that's a high school graduate. I don't know anything. I'm just a kid. And he said, "How do you do it?
Mhm.
You've won every award we've got. You've won multiples of these awards. You've got the Hall of Fame rings, multiple. They're all full of diamonds. You got all this stuff, and nobody's ever won the DMA Distinguished Management Award twice. You've got it three times. You should have won it the other year. I mean, you were 1,000th of 1% away, and it just and you've never missed a trip and all that." And I said, "Because I don't care about that. No
Hmm.
offense to anybody in the room that's won it. I care about my clients. I care about their families. I care about their employees. I care about how they're moving ahead. I care about my salespeople, my district managers. I care about the end user of the yellow pages. Brian Arnold has got a hot water. His wife has a hot water heater that's blowing out. It's blowing steam all over. What's she going to do? He's on the road. She's going to go. Is she going to look under plumbers? Is she going to look under hot water heaters? Where is she going to look in the yellow pages back in the day?
Yeah.
And that's who I'm concerned about. So if I'm dealing with you as a plumber, I'm going to say you're missing the boat if you don't have something here under hot water heaters. You've got several of your competitors there, and just when a hot water heater blows out, do they think about plumbers or do they think about a hot water heater?
Hmm.
It's like if you're selling appliances and your dishwasher is out. Do you look under dishwashers for help or do you look under appliances?
Yeah.
Even if it's 50-50, you can't afford to miss 50% of the
Yeah, because you
potential
have them
business.
both in there. Absolutely.
So if that's just, I don't know. I could go on like this for hours. I'm adamant about the fact that you can succeed. It's a matter of putting your mind to it, be willing to pay the price, for the pain. And I paid for the pain. I paid for the pain
Yes, you
in
have.
ways,
In spades. Yes, you have. Oh
and
my gosh.
and and I've paid for the pain in dollars or investments or things that I've lost. But you know what? Go out and build it again.
Right,
Do
right.
it again.
Hmm.
It's like another crop. Let's get back to crops real quick. Okay, you had a bad season last year. When my dad had, we had some bad years back in the 50s and the 60s. Rain, hail, drought, whatever. Okay, but that doesn't mean you're going to quit farming. Oh, I'm going to give up the farm.
Yeah. No.
No,
What a
you
mentor your dad was for you.
well
Oh
you
my
borrow.
gosh.
Well,
Yeah.
and he started two or three other businesses on top of that while he was doing
Got to
that.
see that and see that example, and then he made you make example. He paid you pay for, tractors and
Yes,
and all that other kind of stuff.
yes.
He taught you
Well, I
for
can tell you this, sir, that I have had many, many, many tears over my father since my father passed away very unexpectedly 40 years ago. This last year, so this is 41 years. This the end of July, and I and I always wondered if I could would he be proud of what I've done?
mm,
Can I live up to what he did?
yeah.
And can I be half the man he was?
Mm,
That's what, and I think that's one thing that drives me
that's right.
internally, subconsciously. It pushes me. But one thing that you asked me, you said one final word of something, and I find this, and it's at the beginning of my book. It's attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson, but it really says a lot. And it's basically, what lies behind us and what lies ahead of us are very small matters compared to what lies
In
within us.
within us.
Because what lies within us is everything we've learned and everything we've been through. And we need to think about what that's been that's made us what we are. Now let's use that to move forward. That's
Man,
it's real basic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming on today. This has been a masterclass. I'm just in my head. I'm just going through all the conversations that I want to have with you, and that I want to. And I know, respecting your time and that kind of stuff. But I can't wait, and I hope you'll come back. I hope we'll be able to
Oh,
talk.
I'll be glad to.
Oh my gosh.
You sound like you're surprised from this old gray haired old
I,
man sitting
I'm,
here in a
I'm not
wheelchair.
surprised. I'm just because I knew it was in you because we had a conversation before. I just didn't know how much you'd be willing to share, and then how much impact it would make on me just hearing, another person who has been very successful in spite of all the things that have happened to you, and your character and your integrity. And I know I've brought those words up a few times, and your willingness to serve. You don't see that from a 5 minute conversation. You hear that from your heart. You hear that from the way that you've conducted your life. Sometimes you just want to sit at the feet of folks that have done it. Sometimes we go, oh, you got
Yes.
to have all these processes and products and get onto AI, and the AI can teach you. I would spend all day with you than using some AI to tell me a whole bunch and to get the knowledge of a whole bunch of people, but the way that you deliver and the way that you speak. And so I have been blessed today. Like I said, I
Oh,
can't
thank
wait
you.
to spend some more time with you. This is your first podcast. I want you to make sure that you subscribe, notifications. You don't want to miss another one with Jay, and you don't want to miss another one that we have in here. And
Thank you.
so, thank you for being on today. I will, I think you close it with a great final word for us today. You've given us some things like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that's just been beautiful.
Uh,
And Jay, thank you again. We'll look forward to talking to the rest of you on the next one. Have an awesome, incredible day. Don't forget you are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. And you are
Thank
born
you.
with greatness. And the greatness that's inside of you needs to come out. And you are an answer to somebody else's prayer today as well. Jay, you are an answer to somebody's prayer. We don't get to
Thank
decide
you,
how we
sir.
answer that prayer. We just got to be available for God to use us. And I want
Yes,
all
sir.
that. So you guys have an amazing day. We'll talk to you on the next one.